Hello, my name is Andre, and this is episode 6 of Chronicles of Reality, a series covering my first years of having schizophrenia. And in this episode, I'm going to cover 5-dimensional chess as far as the next level goes. And that next level is the metaphysical body in its relation to the physical body. Now, anytime I felt the wisp like before, the continuation of that would be feeling something such as clamps on my body, or maybe tentacles around my body for whatever reason. Let's say I would feel, if not a wisp attached to me, then it would be a tentacle that attached to my hand or on my arm. And that tells me, if it's not just being a tentacle, but what comes along with the feeling of that tentacle or wisp, let's say. But I would have to then look at this tentacle, or look at maybe a clasp on maybe my shoulder, and see, and I'd have to be able to see what it looked like and what it felt like, so I can feel the emotions related to that person. I can feel the mentality, and I can see a visual representation of each of these frequencies, so I can tell them apart. So even if somebody else used a clamp in a different way, or a tentacle in a different way, I'd be able to focus on that tentacle and be able to almost tell it to get off my body in a particular manner. If that didn't work in some cases, I would have to almost like pull it in some cases, but I still have to initiate that mentally. Otherwise, I would have to physically wipe at whatever it is that was on me. But that did not always work. So then this experience somewhat got messy. Now, I've just explained something that could happen with just one or two entities. But remember, I had at least 10 entities at once in my presence, all bothering me, and all at least talking to me or about me, and a number of them are interacting with my body. But then I found that other people, other entities, were attaching to my body, and they didn't seem to belong to any other entities or voices that I heard, because the frequencies didn't match. It's like doing a puzzle with all the matching pieces, and then you see that there's suddenly a puzzle that's a different shape and color than the rest of the set. So you know for a fact that it doesn't match. It doesn't match. It doesn't link up to any other ones. So that was something that I had to really battle at that time, because it wouldn't just be maybe a clamp here on the physical world. It could be someone manipulating my arm in the metaphysical world, and then suddenly my arm would be pulled, and you might hear almost like a pop on my arm, and then other times, and I know, and there have been times when my arm has popped before, but I can feel the pull, but the pull on my metaphysical body as it goes. In the metaphysical body, let's say they can pull almost muscles and whatnot on the metaphysical body and stretch it, almost kind of like elastic, or maybe I want to say almost like a bungee cord type feel. Bungee cord, as we all know, nice and stretchy, but eventually especially if it's made well, is going to get taut. And when it gets taut, then all of a sudden it can then pull that particular muscle. So I could at one point be I could reach for something, and then all of a sudden I can feel this pull. So I'm not able to reach like this. I have to almost reach kind of like this to a degree, depending on what it is, because at plenty of times there would be this pressure against my body. Eventually, when things got even worse, I wasn't just fighting people on the physical plane and trying to get these things off my body, but also the metaphysical plane. So I had to focus on all these different levels to handle everything that's happening to me at the same time by multiple people. And on top of that, I still have to go in about my regular schedule. So I still have to go to my grocery job. I still have to go to my security job. And I have to act like nothing's happening around me. But then eventually I just started to, I found moments, I found very opportunistic moments of battling these individuals verbally as time passed. So I had to really get into it because it started to get bad for instance. And that's where Kaido comes in this case of anybody interacting with my body. The main one for the majority of the time, if he was there, was Kaido. Because sometimes Kaido wasn't there, but then Terra was there, who I mentioned before. And Terra was a whole nother beast of an experience, but falls into the same category. But Kaido was one who started to eventually press my torso. I mean, my entire body, but it sometimes came in sections. So I then found that my shoulders, let's say my torso, will be pressed in really bad. And then my shoulders will be pressed in. It might be both shoulders sometimes, but maybe sometimes it'll be other shoulders, but just maybe one shoulder. But for the most part, at the beginning, it was more of an even press. It wasn't until down the line that other emotions would happen. So let's see. I also found that at this time it was. I found that it was difficult, somewhat difficult to breathe. So that's how I really found and realized how much they were affecting my body. I'll mention this now, but this won't officially come into play again until later down the series. But I'll mention that two things. I've mentioned that I have had asthma over my years, and I've been through so many things, so I know what asthma feels like. I know what regular tightness of the chest feels like. But excuse me. Right now I'm actually feeling something along those lines, along that subject. But for now, the past. In the past, it was just the pressure against my ribs, and then pressure on my hips, and then maybe most of my hips and things like that. So where this became dangerous was I started to have different motions or different parts of my body affected in more of a detailed manner. So then it evolved from not just my physical body and metaphysical body being affected in certain ways, but then we have the let's see the muscles of the muscular skeletal system that we have. There is one in the metaphysical body. So if someone were to pull the muscles of the metaphysical body in a certain way, they'd be able to pull and have that elastic measure. But as time passed, I found that these entities would be able to manipulate my body even more so than that. So then I found that maybe a muscle on my back or maybe muscle on my shoulder would maybe be pulled like this, upwards. And then, to me, maybe to the naked eye, it may look all right. But for me, I know that maybe my shoulder is shifted upward to almost like this. And over time, the entities became so good that it would be a shift that I almost barely felt. So these motions that maybe would feel really violent or really obvious, such as my shoulder jerking like that maybe, and then maybe being held there for a second, I would then take it off. But then other times, eventually, I would end up feeling something like that ever so lightly. But then also that would mean that maybe my ribs would also be twisted maybe this way to a degree. But as far as I can tell, it doesn't feel. I don't catch it right away sometimes because I'm fighting so much at once. Because I'm still moving around and everything, and these entities, most of them, depending on who it was, would follow your emotions. So you go and reach for something. It may feel natural, but once you know what you're looking for, you may reach for something, and then all of a sudden, when you reach for something, then your shoulder kind of goes like this, just enough. So you reach for it, you grab whatever it is, and you come back. But that shoulder, as you can sort of see, is still uneven. Eventually, that became really hard to get rid of because sometimes they will be pulling these sort of strings or metaphysical muscles so much that they're being pulled maybe almost up here, and I can even sense what it is that I'm feeling on there, and I can sense that it's even there on the side of my head somewhere. So I now have to use my mind's eye and focus on that area and figure out what is grabbing it and see if I can pull that off of me or just pull it back. In the past, I'd be able to really pull it back a lot easier than I can now. So I then have to focus and have them let go and then release that. So then eventually the metaphysical muscle that eventually affects the actual muscles goes back down. So then that shoulder would just sort of drop. And I can feel the difference in that ease. But this is a constant battle. 24/7. It never stops. Like I said before, I would go to sleep hearing voices. I'd wake up hearing voices. and overall, I never really got a break when it came to this experience. So that's what I really came to have to deal with as far as five-dimensional chess goes on a daily basis. And that's, up until this point of the series, is just is most of the setup for my experience. So let's see. In the next episode, I'm going to cover magic systems. And which I know I'm a writer, so I do write multiple magic systems when it comes to my book. But this case is slightly different, which then eventually actually did help me with my writing. But that may be a slightly longer episode, so I'm gonna have to end this episode here. In the next episode, I'm going to add the layer of magic systems. So this is gonna be the conclusion of 5-dimensional chess. And I want to thank everybody for watching my channel so far. And thank you for subscribing. I don't have too many subscribers yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing who else might watch me, and looking forward to talking to you all in the future. So please give me feedback. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you.